Christian is going to demonstrate how he uses the UroPal Urinary Catheterization pump. The first thing he's going to do is he's going to take his hydrophilic catheter and he's going to pop the saline pouch to lubricate the catheter. Then he's going to distribute the water about the pouch to get the catheter nice and wet. Then he's going to open up the catheter in the package and he's going to apply the tip of the UroPal, the trumpet end, onto the catheter. And then he's going to place the bag onto the floor. Just get it out of his way for a second. That's where the bag goes during the catheterization process. And then he's going to use some wet wipes to clean his hands. So after his hands are clean, he's going to lift up his shirt to expose his Mitrofanoff urostomy stoma. And then he's going to pull the catheter out of the pouch and insert it into the stoma. Now, what's going to happen next is Christian is going to start squeezing the primer pump, which has a small rubber tube. And what this does is the rubber tube with the two check valves on either side. Show the check valve here, and a check valve here. It acts similar to an intravenous pump. And so he's going to squeeze the tube, let go, squeeze, 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 squeeze. And what that does is it pulls the fluid through the catheter, and it sends the urine and all the sediment down the tube into the collection bag. Now, once there's enough fluid in the tube, it begins siphoning, which just means that gravity is using the column of fluid in the tube to create a gentle vacuum, a gentle suction, to pull the urine and all the sediment out of his bladder. It's important that the sediment is pulled out with the urine because of the mucus in his urine from his Mitrofanoff urostomy, which means that stomach tissue was grafted into his bladder. Other internal organs can also be used, but in his case, it was stomach. And then the urine is going into the collection bag. Now, because all the mucus and sediment is pulled out with the urine, Christian has not irrigated himself with saline in approximately 5 years. He's 13 years old, and he's been catheterizing himself with UroPal for about the last 7 or 8 years. And every time he has an ultrasound, his bladder is always clear of sediment and mucus, and he has never had any stone issues whatsoever. His urologist, Dr. Edwin Smith in Atlanta, has recommended UroPal for his other patients. The capacity for the collection bag of UroPal is 1 liter. And the capacity of his bladder is also about 1 liter, and when it's very full, he gets 1 complete collection bag. What I'm going to do is I'm going to straighten out the bag on the floor so there's no constriction in the bag for it to collect urine. And as you can see, the sediment is coming out with the urine. You can see it floating around inside the bag. Now, this was a brand new clean pump. Put a biohazard on it since it's urine. and an index about which position the valve is on when it's open and when it's closed. But you can see the sediment in there. But this pump has never been used before, so it can demonstrate the sediment collection capability. Now the maintenance is pretty simple. After catheterization, the pump can be rinsed out to keep the check valves free of sediment. And if you miss rinsing it a couple times, that's fine too. It all just keeps flowing and usually flushes out with use. As far as how many times a UroPal can be used, that depends a lot on how much sediment there is. I would estimate that you could probably get somewhere between, I don't know, 50, 75, maybe even 100 cycles. We usually keep multiple pumps on hand, one at home, one in the car. He has one at school. He has been able to catheterize himself 100% without any assistance from school nurses or adults or anyone for some years now. It really makes his life easier. And because he's not been irrigating, that also simplifies the entire process in that we don't have to worry about keeping sterile syringes around and also using additional catheters for him to be able to insert the saline into his bladder, keeping all of that sterile and clean. And as a result of eliminating that part of the process, he's also eliminating additional chance of there being any introduction of infection. Now in his particular case, his bladder has two chambers. Whenever the first one is empty, the trumpet part of the catheter collapses. This is the trumpet part right here. And whenever it pulls vacuum, that trumpet piece, it sucks closed, and that's how he knows that the first chamber is empty. You can see sediment coming through the fitting. And then after that trumpet piece of the catheter collapses, he pulls the catheter out just enough for the tip of the catheter to experience the second pocket in his bladder, and then it continues to drain. Once the second pocket is completely empty, the catheter trumpet collapses a second time, and then he knows that he's completely empty, and he pulls the catheter out completely and throws it in the trash, and then UroPal can be drained into the toilet. The way that UroPal can be drained into the toilet is the bag is held up like this, and the blue valve is rotated 90 degrees, and urine is allowed to flow out that valve. And once it's done, you can run water either into the bag and slosh it around to rinse it that way, or you can also run water into the other end to flush the entire tube system out. Now, once again, you can see how much sediment is being pulled out with the urine. There's quite a bit of it in there. I'm putting this back down so it'll continue to siphon. This thing is entirely gravity powered. There's no batteries, there's no moving parts other than the check valve and the emptying valve, and it's very simple and reliable. And the beauty of it being gravity powered is that gravity always works. Now, what Christian can also do is keep squeezing the pump to get more coming out. You can see he's got more coming into the bag. You see all that sediment coming out through the catheter. Ooh, there's a big piece of it right there. for his first pocket. Okay, he's emptied the first pocket, now he's emptying the second one. Now, the further down, yep, he just pulled it out. He's done. And all goes down into the bag. That's how much he got out this time. Obviously, the more water he drinks, the more full this gets. But when his bladder is very full, that bag is completely full of urine. Well, thank you, Christian, for your demonstration. He's about to put the catheter back in the pouch and then pull the tip off of the trumpet. And that is that. Thank you very much. UroPal, UroPal.